Hey, hey, Mike from Tungsten. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Tell us about what's been going on. You've got a new album coming out very soon, October 18, which is very nice indeed. Tell us about how that came about.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, we released our last album called Bliss back in 2022. So after a tour there and a few festivals, we decided to go on and follow the footsteps of Bliss musically, where we try more to broaden our musical style a little bit more with and to have a varied album musically. So that's basically how it's a continuation of our last album, even though it's even more, so to speak.
It is a very varied album, and there's a couple of songs on there which just scream out to know the story behind them, one of which is the single Lullaby. Tell us about that.
Mhm. Lullaby is musically a very typical Tungsten song style-wise. It's like uh, like how we once started on the We Will Rise album back in 2019. Very more industrial-like. But the story is actually Carl, our bass player, that wrote that lyric actually, and he got the idea from a nightmare he had about a mother seeking eternal beauty. So to achieve this, she had to sacrifice her daughter, and while luring her daughter into the more or less killing her, sending her away with those evil ghosts, she was singing this "Hush, little baby." Do, let me push you into the herd, blah blah blah. And the song is about that this child then comes back from the grave to revenge and pay back to her mother and karma. So she sings this little "Hush, little baby, don't you say a word" to her mother as a vendetta to make her crazy. So it's a little bit like a ghost story. It's a sad story indeed, but a ghost horror. It would be a horror movie if it was a movie.
Yeah, yeah, it would be. Probably M. Night Shyamalan or whatever his name is would be directing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What other songs in there have got some stories you might want to share with us?
There are a few. Wahlberg, the first single, tells a story about the weekend and the holiday in Sweden on the last date of April and 1st of May, where we celebrate something called Valborg. In English, it's called Walpurgis Night. And I think it's only in Sweden, Finland, England, and Germany where we actually celebrate this. And you basically light up a big bonfire to burn out the winter and welcome the spring. And this is a day a holiday we have celebrated since the Middle Ages.
Yeah, right.
And there's another song called "The Sound of a Violin," a lyric that I wrote that tells the folklore about a dude called Näcken, which literally means the naked man. But in English, if it when I translate it, it's called water spirit. That's the English name for Näcken for some reason. And it's an old say that parents used to say to their children if they lived nearby a lake or a river or something, that don't go too close because Näcken might take you and drown you, because Näcken was sitting there playing on his violin to lure the kids. So it
Yeah,
was a folklore to try to scare the children away from the waters to keep them safe.
yeah, okay.
Then we have other stories, more fictional stories. I mean, or songs that you can relate to. There is "Falling Apart," which is more a song that you can relate to if you have problems with depression, when you're at the lowest low
Mm,
mentally.
mm.
There are songs about relations and other things that common man can relate to, or think based his own thoughts around, so to speak. So we write everything from fiction to historical things to real things that you can relate to in one way or another.
Mm. It's an interesting dynamic in the band too, isn't it? With um, all the family members and you. I'm fascinated to find out how that actually came about back right in the beginning of the band. Can you give us any insight into that?
Absolutely. First time I met Andersson was back in the 90s. But we had an old band called Full Force back in 2011. We released two albums actually. The first one was called One, and the second one that came out the year later was called Next Level. We also did an all-star album together under the moniker Planet Alliance with lots of different genres. But I was a singer in this project, and Anders played on a few songs. We also had Your Native, Bob Daisley on two songs
Oh,
on that.
mm,
Yeah. It was released back in 2006. And this was actually the first time when I met Carl and Nick, but they were only small children at that point. I think they
yeah,
were 8 or 9 years old, like so. But in 2016, Anders heard some songs that Carl and Nick had written, and he came up with the idea to start up a band together with
mm,
father and son's band. But
yeah,
that needed a singer, and that's why he called me up, since we had quite some good history with each other, most musically and as friends, since the Full Force time and all this. So
yeah,
that's basically it. I listened to the songs and I said, hell yeah, let's go for it. This is
yeah,
unique. It's cool. So yeah, that's how it started. And back then we were called Stroker. But when we signed for our previous record label, Rising Empire, who released our first three albums, they suggested us to change our band name for some. They didn't like Stroker, so therefore it eventually it became Tungsten. So
right.
that's yeah, that's more or less it about the
Mm,
background. But you
fascinating.
said, by the way, you said how it feels. It feels like a band
Yeah.
because
Oh,
in
yeah.
the band and we are friends and treat each other like band members. So the family thing Anders keeps outside the band, so to speak. So I never feel like okay, now I'm in Anders' family. Everyone is equally important, so to speak, in the band. So and pulls their straw to the yeah, you know.
Mm. What's the best gig you've done with the band? Is there any particular time where you've just thought, "Whoa, that was amazing"? I mean, it must be amazing all the time, but what's the one memory that sticks in your head?
And the biggest memory is must be Sweden Rock Festival last year when we were entering the stage in before lunch. I think it was 11:30 or something, and it was the festival's third day. And we thought it's cool to play here, but damn, it's too early. People is gonna have still sleep and have a hangover since the
Yeah,
day before, and But when we entered the stage there, when the concert intro started, and we saw 8,000 people there in front of the stage, the whole area is packed. It was heartwarming. It was
yeah,
so. It made me forget a few lines in different lyrics while performing because it was so cool and unexpected to see that many people so early.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's of course a big memory. So
yeah, yeah.
the
Okay,
tour we did with Bloodbound, it was a cool thing, visiting lots of German towns and cities, and also Switzerland. So yeah,
awesome. This is going to be a bit of a weird one. What is one song from another artist that you wished you'd written? You've got a time machine, you can go back and write it yourself instead of them. What's one track? Any track come to mind where you've listened to it and gone, gee, I wish I wrote that?
I know the exact feeling. There are plenty of songs, but it's kind of a double side because one part of me wants to hear that artist play it because it's so
Yeah,
freaking
yeah,
good.
yeah,
But
fair
then
enough.
there is it's so good that I would like to be the one. I mean, Still of the Night with Whitesnake, I wouldn't
Mm,
could
yeah,
go. one of my songs. Then we have Symphony X, the Accolade from their third album.
Yeah.
Very progressive song, but it's a freaking masterpiece. Uh, yeah, I could go on. What else? There is Stranger in a Strange Land with Iron Maiden, which
Yeah.
is a really good song. So,
Mm. That's what they
yeah.
opened with. I saw Iron Maiden last night, and that's what they opened with, Stranger in a Strange Land.
Ah, how cool is
Oh,
that?
hang
That's
on. No, I think that was the second song. Um,
Yeah, but I heard them play it
yeah.
live at Sweden Rock. They
Mm.
actually played it on the same time as we were gearing up because they had a sound check on a different stage at the
Yeah,
same
right.
time. So I was listening when they played it on the sound check. That was really cool.
Excellent. Yeah. Caught Somewhere in Time is what they opened with, and then they did Stranger in a Strange Land
Ah.
last night. Yep. Just last night. Okay. What's happening now? You've got the album coming out very soon. Have you got gigs lined up? Is there a support slot you're doing? What's happening?
We have a Scandinavian tour supporting Sonata Arctica that starts next
Oh,
Wednesday.
that'll be good. Yes.
So and then we after that it's kind of silent actually. There is no tours that has been possible for us to join. So I think we have a gig in Sweden coming up in late January, but that's not official yet. So therefore I can't say anything. But we do have a booking agency in Germany that handles Europe and the most of the world, and also one that handles Scandinavia. So I'm sure if not in 2024, I'm quite sure 2025 will be full of shows and hopefully tours as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what we're hoping for, and that's what they are working their fingers to the bone to arrange. So yeah, but so Sonata Arctica tour is the closest thing now. So that's cool.
That'll be good.
Yeah,
That'll be. Their latest album is just incredible. So that'll be that's a good tour to get.
yeah.
Tell us about the artwork on the latest album. That's pretty impressive. How did that come about, and who's behind that?
Uh, it's a new kind of Wolfram. That's the name of our mascot that have been with us since the first album. But on the first three albums, it was Andreas Marshall who also created the album covers for Blind Guardian, Obituary, Hammerfall, and so forth. He actually also painted the first single cover for Volborg, this for a new, our upcoming album, the first single. But when we signed for our new record label, Reigning Phoenix Music, they wanted something different. They wanted us to keep Wolfram, of course, but like updated some 2.0 version of him, so to speak. So therefore, we talked to an unknown guy, a good friend of ours that is good with computers and those Photoshop programs, etc., etc. So we asked him to create a new cover in these darker yellow or orange colors that can resemble the Grand Inferno, so to speak. So that's
Mm,
basically how it came about.
yeah,
And the
excellent.
record label was very satisfied as well. So yeah.
Did he do the one for the artwork for the Lullaby single as well? That's a pretty impressive one too.
Yeah, but that is actually Andreas Marshall that painted
Right.
that one. That
Mm,
one was actually intended to be the album cover for the Grand
right.
Inferno.
Okay. Mm,
But when the record label saw it, they thought, "Oh, it's still too similar in style. It's really no difference from our previous albums, except for the colors and the things happening in the picture." So they explained what they were thinking about, and therefore we went more digital. So,
yeah.
so that's a story about that. So
Right. Music videos. How do
yeah.
you get on with them? How do you find them?
On this album, we are very happy to have Nick in the band, a great guitar player and songwriter, but also very good at creating music videos. So the times when we don't have ideas for a music video, then we normally hire some guy from the outside, like Patrick Elias we hired on the first album. Last time on the Bliss, we hired a guy called Ted Lindan. But then in between, we have Nick to create our videos as well. And what I mean is, if we get cool ideas that everybody in the band come up with to put into a video, then Nick is very good in filming and editing and producing those videos. So, and that's a good thing that happened with the Grand Inferno and the videos for our
Mm,
new album, that we created them all by ourselves, and especially Nick, like he's the master of this, creating this. But me, Carl, and Anders was helpful with coming up with ideas and locations, and what the video shall be about. So, for example, the Blood of the Kings video is filmed in a cinema, kind of a humoristic video, but with an unpleasant touch, a little, a
mm,
little bit strange. Then we have Lullaby, which is based on this horror movie where we found an old sugar factory warehouse that haven't been touched for 35 years.
yeah,
So
right.
there were actually growing small trees and bushes and moss all over the floor and furniture that haven't been touched for 35 years. There were
Yeah,
tables and chairs that basically just was left there, and they went out when they put this down, this factory. So that was
yeah,
the perfect location for the Lullaby video.
yeah, yeah. Nature had taken over again, huh?
Exactly, just like that.
Yeah. Has a habit of doing that.
Yeah.
Me, myself, my enemy. Tell us about that track.
It's more or less about how you are as a person, learning to basically understand others and don't lock yourself in too much into your own self. Open your eyes for other opinions, etc., etc., because otherwise, me, myself, that will become your own enemy. You
Mm,
will become your own enemy if you don't open up and also understands that people have opinions, and that's okay. Even if you don't have to share the opinion, but still it's okay for someone to think differently. That's not in letter exact what it's about, all about, but the message is about this,
yeah,
that don't lock yourself in. I mean, otherwise you will become your own enemy.
yeah. No, I get that. So how long have you been a musician working in the industry? How much have you seen it change? And what do you know now that you wish you knew back then?
I've been an official musician since 2004, when my old band called Cloudscape released our first album in Japan.
Right.
And the rest of the world, it was released in 2005. We released 5 albums before disbanding in 2016, just before we started up Tungsten. But I've been a musician more or less locally since the late 80s. I started up my first band. In that old band, it was actually Peter Wilder, the drummer in Darkane, and James Labrie.
Mm,
That was he was a classmate of mine. So he was the drummer in my absolute first band in my life. We were like 10, 11 years old only. And yeah, then in the 90s, I was in several different hard rock bands, sending cassette tapes to record labels in
mm,
envelopes,
mm.
trying to get a record deal. I can say that I'm very happy I managed to get older before signing a contract, a record
Yeah,
contract, because it's so easy to write a bad contract, you ruin your life basically. So I'm kind of happy that it took time before this actually happened in
yeah.
2004. So and what was the last you said? What would
What do you know now that you wish you knew back then?
I yeah, I'm not really sure. Music never changes, but it's streaming now. Streaming
Yeah,
for 85%. The vinyl has been and is still in a big revival. I'm a
yeah.
vinyl
That's
listener myself. I
mm,
only listen to vinyls when I'm in my apartment, for example. The only time I stream music is when I'm driving. Um, I think it's cool that it has a revival, but it will never take over streaming. I guess. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. Actually, it's
No,
streaming
it
will
was,
always remain, I think.
yeah. I was reminiscing with an old friend I ran into at Iron Maiden last night, and we think we had our youth in the best of times, I think.
Yeah.
It was before all this. I mean, streaming's fine, you get to exposed to a lot more bands, but we had, I don't know, you might
The
say in
big
innocence.
difference, the big difference for me between streaming and vinyls, or even CDs for that matter, when I put on a vinyl or a CD, then I listen to the music. But when
Yeah,
I stream, I hear it. You
yeah,
get my point?
yeah, yeah, I do.
So
Yeah, I do.
that's a difference for me. The music is there, but I don't really pay that much attention to it. Like when I put on the record on the plate and start spinning and the
Mm.
pickup on, and then yeah. So that's the difference. I think the younger people today don't value the music as you and I
No,
do.
no, they get it too easily, and everything comes to them too easily and too quickly. We had to work for it. We had to go down, catch the bus into town, be at the record store, and take it home to hear it, rather than just
Exactly.
put on your phone. You had to find out shit before Facebook and email and all that sort of stuff. You actually had to get out there and find stuff, and I think maybe we valued it more as a result.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
We've had a good chat here, mate. We might have to wrap it up so you can get on to the next one. Can I get you to do something for me, please, as a big favour?
Yeah, sure.
For the interview screenshot, give us the horns up in the camera for me. Ah, excellent, thanks. Hey, Mike, so good to talk to you, man. Great
Very good.
album, great album.
Thank you
Good
very
luck
much.
when it comes out, and good luck with the Sonata Arctica tour. I'm sure you'll have a fantastic time.
Let's hope so. I'm sure too.
Thanks, mate. You take care.
You too, my friend.
See you
Cheers.
later.
See you later.